Oh dear. Okay, here we are. So, my gosh. So the user interface for the YouTube live dashboard is significantly different than it was, gosh, even just a few weeks ago. So my apologies in advance if it seems a little bit strange the way that I am interacting or the way that I am talking with you. So I've got to pop out my chat first off, because if I don't, then I won't really know what it is that I'm doing. All right, so you say hello if you can see and or hear me. All right. Winky wink. There we go. So live chat is going live, and we've got, it appears to be that the stream health is pretty good. So my apologies that I'm doing a bit of troubleshooting here live in the middle of a broadcast. This is not my favorite thing, but this is the new dashboard for YouTube live anyway. And apparently there's a lot more to come. Bit of pain. This is just kind of par for the course, right? We're sort of used to this across so many different platforms, and within crypto right now, we're used to rolling with the punches, so to speak. So I appreciate you being along for the ride. Appreciate you being a good sport about this. Thank you so much. It means so much that you're here and that you're still being supportive. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for sharing out this video. Thank you for being subscribed so you're notified when new videos come out and clicking the bell icon, etc. So you always get the notification when I go live for videos like this. So notification gang, thanks for being here. Anybody else who's on, say, Twitter, for example, thank you for being here. Thank you for answering the call and showing up here in the video. So without further ado, let's talk really briefly about the channel update. There are a couple of things that are going to be happening in the near future. You may be wondering, Seth, are you in of crypto? Are you out of crypto? Your last video kind of was a little bit, unnerving. Hey, I see Greg in the comments. Thank you so much for saying, letting me know you're still alive. But you may be wondering, Seth, what's going on? You told us in your last video that you have your rigs turned off, and you can hear behind me, I'm in the basement right now. My rigs are just over there, and you can't hear them turned on. Either that or I'm just a master at the audio EQ, right? Like maybe I've got audio chops that good, but no, I don't. Nobody has them that good. You can't cut out Delta fans from 4 feet away completely. So I see Crypto Trucker in the comments as well, and Mr. Chris Moo. Guys, thanks so much for saying hello, giving me a shout out there, and letting me know that you are in the comments. And thank you so much for sharing the video out. It means a lot. So we can have kind of more of an open discussion here. So again, talking about what's new with the channel or the direction of the channel update. The long and the short of it is that I'm not mining actively here at home, and I haven't gone to warehouse yet. You see other people in the space who are, they're mining at a new house, or they've changed the way that they mine, or in some cases, others have completely turned their mining rigs off. Kev, over at Kev's Crypto, or Kevin, he turned his rigs entirely off and sold most of his gear, which was the right choice for him at that time. I try not to be overly critical of people who are selling some of their equipment, but at the same time, I do think that there's a longer game that can be played, right? It's totally depends on what your goals are, right? Financially, you may have some goals that you want to hit that right now mining doesn't help you achieve. And if that's the case and you feel like the best possible choice for you is to liquidate your equipment, then who am I to tell you otherwise, right? I don't pay your bills. My opinions definitely don't pay your bills. So you figure out what's best for you. But here at this channel, I am not actively mining, but I'm not actively selling my gear either. The market is illiquid. And it's the same situation that we were in several months ago, right? When mining profits were low and a lot of rigs were turned off. The market, in my opinion, is illiquid for mining gear. I'm not going to sell mining edition cards at the rate that I feel comfortable with, so I'm not going to bother trying. What I am going to do is set up different rigs. I see Sager in the comments as well. Hey, thank you for saying hello, and thank you for the kind words. It's good to be back, right? Here's the thing. Don't call it a comeback, because I've been here the whole time. Here's kind of more of the update as far as what's been happening for me personally. I've been spending a lot of time with my kids, a lot of time with my family over the summer. As you know, life is short, right? And especially with kids, the time just flies. I remember when my oldest boy, and I'm going to, maybe I'll sound old, maybe I'll sound whatever, like I'm a little bit overly sentimental, but I remember when my oldest son turned 9 years old. And the thought that went through my head was, Seth, you've gotten to the halfway point with this kid living in your home. If he does decide to leave at age 18, and if you can make that work as a parent, like if you've done your job, right? He's probably only about halfway through this journey of being a child, air quotes, in your home and in your care. Definitely being a minor legally, you're halfway done. The job's halfway done. And I remember just thinking about that and kind of having this little mini sense of panic. And just thinking, am I doing good enough? Have I done enough? How much more do I have to do? And having a very frank inventory with myself about what kinds of lessons I needed to teach my son, what kinds of lessons I was teaching him through example, right? Was I being an example or was I being a warning in certain areas? And I had that ongoing inner dialogue. He's turning 16. He's turning 16 soon. He wants the keys to the car. He asked a girl out to homecoming, and he's a good kid, but he asked a girl out to homecoming, and we're going through these phases, right? It's the end of an era practically. I only get him 2 more years, guys. 2 more years. So, I'm asking myself these questions. Where do I make the time? How do I make it all work, right? There are several other people who do this kind of like cryptocurrency commentary who don't have family life to attend to, right? So Sager's asking about Ethereum Classic. Why don't we get to that a little bit? Because I don't know a whole lot about the Ethereum Classic 4, but we can talk about that openly. So guys, just a heads up. When I talk about the channel update, it is inextricably linked to my personal life. Big shout out to Bitsby Trippin'. Michael Carter, as you noticed, you may or may not have noticed, doesn't publish as frequently right now either. And when you do see him, the guy, hats off to him. The guy is spending as much quality time as he can with his family. Being so heavily involved with his own personal entrepreneurial pursuits plus crypto has really taken, it does take him away from his family a lot, as you can tell. Mrs. Bitsby Trippin' does spend time with him, but it kind of takes its toll on work-life balance, or family life balance. So that's kind of where I've been over the summer for the most part. And I think I may have mentioned it before, but I wanted to kind of give you a more full explanation there that I've spent a lot of time with my boys. Done a lot of camping, a lot of fishing, a lot of evening and weekend activities, a lot of board games, a lot of local hikes and stuff, ruck marches and things. We're spending the time because when it's gone, that's it. It's gone. So I know. Yeah, I'm not going to, you know better than to expect an apology from me, but for choosing my family over anything else. But that's where I was. So now you know. In the meantime, also coming back to crypto with all this other stuff. Oh my gosh, Red for Danger saying his oldest son is now 9. You need advice. Oh man. I think my little intro there is like the only advice I feel really well qualified to give to a large mixed audience. I'm a person of faith, so I mean, if you pursue it, I'll tell you a lot more of my personal opinions. And we'll find out a lot more taking the 8 values test, but the 8 values quiz later on. But the only advice that I feel qualified to give to a large mixed audience is just the time is precious, right? Like it's precious. If your son is 9, you are at the halfway mark, my friend. Like, are you on the uphill? Are you on the downhill? It's up to you to decide. You know, right? You know where you are on that path, but it's halfway done, right? Halfway done as far as being a parent of a minor. So good luck. Good luck. Have some empathy. Yeah, as Sager says, just be your son's best friend. Works most of the time. I find that for my sons, being their best friend doesn't work for me. They take advantage of that. So maybe I should offer that also. Now we've got some counterpoint here. What they need from me is to be a fixed point. And yeah, I'm that guy. I'm that dad. So whether you like that or love it, I don't, if people say they hate that, I don't care. I'm the fixed point in my kid's life. So when they need structure, guess who's the guy that's going to deliver it? Yeah, over here. Not at the end of a 2x4, so to speak. Just saying that, like, if they act out of line, the buck stops here. They know it, their mom knows it, and their mom knows that she can pretty much just threaten them with, yeah, I'm going to talk to your dad when he gets home. And that means something to them. I'm okay with that traditional role. So I'm not going to tell you you're wrong if you're doing it a different way, but that's how we do it here. So, all right. guys, that's the channel update kind of in a nutshell. Coming back to crypto after a very long hiatus. I had a lot of equipment running over the summer and it was very passive. I was very mindless about how I did my crypto. I was not being super mindful about like, all right, we're going to do high frequency algo switching. We're going to switch from this coin to that coin. We're going to try a bunch of different speculative plays. And I'm going to try to discover what the latest thing is that's forking or that's moving over here. Like, for example, today, seeing that Z Classic, or in the last 24 hours, that Z Classic forked its proof of work to shake off ASICs. I'm not going to be that guy that's like, oh my gosh, Z Classic is profitable for like 3 hours. Why didn't I get like 15 Z Classic coins in 3 hours? I'm not after it to that extent. And frankly, my mine isn't large enough that if I threw that much hash rate at a coin like Z Classic that forked, and also it doesn't have enough volume and liquidity to merit me doing that, making that kind of a play. I just don't think it would work out well for me. So I was very passive with it towards the end of the summer and into the summer. So, hey guys, I see the number of viewers has grown. Thank you again for hitting that like button. Thank you so much for sharing the video. And thank you so much for being subscribed and clicking the bell icon. But yeah, I was very passive about how I was mining towards the end of the summer, looking at BitTube as one major project that I felt very comfortable supporting. So on my AMD cards, it was a very easy choice to make. Mine BitTube. It's a crypto night coin, or a crypto note coin. So for AMD, the traditional, air quotes, traditional wisdom goes that your AMD cards are going to do a lot better on crypto notes than they are most of the time on Ethereum Classic, anything doing Ethash, anything doing X16R or multi-algo cycles. You're going to get a much stronger overall performance from your NVIDIA cards, right? So I left most of my AMD cards on BitTube, but then also kind of jumped around to CCX, Conceal, and some others as well. Tried Zano for a while. New coin that was launching. Very happy with that project, and we'll have to cover it in the future. But now we've got hindsight looking from launch until now to figure out what has happened since they launched, how have things been going for them, have they responded to a down market? And we'll talk about that in upcoming videos. I'm eager to talk about that. But I only did a couple of they weren't particularly risky plays with the AMD cards. Same with the NVIDIA cards. Nothing particularly risky. Mining Raven. Mining Rito Coin, right? A sort of daughter project to Raven, run by some of the team members who were on the Raven Coin project, such as Tracy. And then there are a couple other projects that are closely related to it that use alternate algorithms that are kind of being tested and evaluated by the Raven Coin team. And then, of course, keeping my finger on the pulse of FPGA bitstream development. That really matters to me because you and I, if we're sticking with GPUs, then we need to know where there are legitimate threats to GPU dominance, so to speak, on the hash rate. And if we're evaluating FPGAs, obviously, we need to know what the prospects are moving forward to use FPGAs and roughly how long we can expect for profit to stick with FPGAs because they tend to be kind of a bridge technology, right? So you see FPGAs for certain coins and at certain times, they've come in, sopped up a lot of hash rate, and then after a time, the profitability kind of comes down as the net hash goes up because there's so much competition. Right? So you're diluted in terms of like the net hash that you're contributing to the network. You're diluted, so your profits go down. So it's kind of this tricky thing, and I've been very interested in paying attention to the bit streams that are coming up because just like with CPUs and GPUs, early mining as early as possible when you have a competitive advantage, it always plays better. Right? It always plays out better and more in your favor. So, guys, that's the channel update. I've been doing mostly just doing a lot of homework and trying to pay attention. In some cases, not doing a lot of homework, frankly, being a little mindless, putting some stuff on autopilot, and then trying to check in enough to just do a temperature check, right? Temperature test, like, all right, is this thing going? No. All right, is that thing gonna fly? Okay, is this bitstream actually being launched within a reasonable amount of time? No. Okay, well, I'll check back in about a week. I have not been as hands-on as I have been in the past, right? So that's where I am right now. I've also been focusing on some other stuff too. You may have seen that I did the very different video a couple months ago, right? Where I went to the outdoor range, brought a bunch of old mining equipment, shot it up, had a ton of fun, but I realized I needed to start a separate channel just for that stuff because it seemed like it wasn't the perfect fit for everybody here. So just so you know, when it comes to specifically to gun-oriented stuff, I'm not going to be putting any more of that here on this channel. Where, like, anytime that I am holding a firearm at an outdoor range, indoor range, doing anything with a firearm, it will not be on this channel. Just so you know, that's what to expect there from the channel. Moving forward, though, what I am going to do is broaden up the range of topics that I talk about. Yes, we're still going to talk a lot about crypto mining. Yes, we're still going to talk a lot about crypto markets when there's something actually worth talking about. That's the thing. I don't want to phone it in. I don't think you guys want me to phone it in. Generally speaking, I think you want me to keep it as real as I possibly can and try to give you my most honest gut impressions about stuff that's happening in the industry, whether it's coin forks or talking to projects, and then a bit of journalism as well. You know, air quotes journalism. Keller, oh my gosh, Daniel Keller has hit the comments with his Kimber 1911 and Punisher themed grip plates. Stop. Because what I'm going to tell you when you say that 45 ACP is better than 9mm is that 10mm is better than 45 ACP. Just saying. When people go hiking in Alaska, they don't carry 45 ACP. They carry 10mm. Anyway, guys, I what was I saying? Right, no gun stuff on this channel. No gun stuff on this channel. But I do have the Trigger Dingus channel, so look for a link down in the description later on. I'll add that. So I will talk about some gun stuff down the line, but on that channel, right? That stuff matters to me. It's a part of my past, and it is very, very dear to my heart. Very dear to my heart. So really briefly, a little bit of background there. I am not at all, I don't want to indicate or hint at me stealing anybody's valor or having done any kind of military service. I haven't, or having done anything that's like sketchy or related to like shooting at or harming people. That's never been a part of my life. But firearm culture has been since a very, very young age. I was 12 years old when I fired my first submachine gun, fully automatic. And when I fired my first 7.62 NATO round at 1,000 yards and hit my target, I was very young. I was taught at a very young age, and I dialed in that skill set at a very young age, and I fell in love with marksmanship and with kind of gun culture in general at a very young age. So that's pretty much going to be something that comes up on that other channel. And that one day at the range, you probably saw me have just a little bit of fun, but you didn't really get a sense for how much I actually care for that sport. And it's a lot of fun. So if you're from Western Europe and you don't understand it at all, don't worry about it. I'm not going to burden you with it on this channel. However, what I would like to do is talk more about liberty-oriented topics and talk a little bit more about, say, for example, the Constitution of the United States. So things like the First Amendment and why it matters, related to crypto. The Second Amendment and why it matters, related to crypto. The Third Amendment, you're not going to probably find a very strong correlation to crypto, but with Fourth and Fifth Amendment, you definitely will. And I'd like to talk a little more about that. There are many audience members for this channel who are from the United States who frankly don't understand their own constitution or their own rights. If you ever hear somebody in general, if you hear somebody say the phrase, "I know my rights," it actually means that they don't. Generally speaking, it means they don't understand their rights at all. So, hey, I see Mr. Chris Moose saying in college you did a lot of bullseye shooting. 45 ACP and 20. Here's the thing, man. 45 ACP and 22. I didn't say that they didn't have their place and that every shooter shouldn't absolutely love those rounds, because they should. Because it's also generally true that either you like 1911s or you're wrong. You can't hate a 1911. I mean, Browning got it right. That stood the test of time, over 100 years. So yeah, I'm right on board with you. And 22 long rifle, I mean, you can't get better in terms of cost per round than 22 long rifle. So if you're not plinking 22 long rifle, you're doing it wrong, right? You want to shoot steel, especially. Hear that plink? It's addictive, and 22 long rifle will get you your fix. Terry B, hello, welcome. Thank you for sending along the comments. So guys, I want to talk a little bit more about liberty and liberty orientation of crypto, because crypto, Bitcoin in particular at the beginning, and now crypto, they have the they really carry the potential to help bring some of the liberties that Western culture has come to take for granted and deliver that to other cultures. It's not necessarily about banking the unbanked. That's a thing that many different wealth transfer schemes and many different stores of value can help do, right? So if you live in a place where you don't have a bank, well, do you have a mattress that you can stuff cash under? Is your cash worthless, right? Are they Zimbabwean dollars? Do you have anything else that functions as a store of value, such as precious metals, right? Like crypto doesn't necessarily answer those problems per se. It doesn't solve those problems in the broader scheme of things, but it does help in protecting freedom of speech, and it does help in protecting freedom from an unconstitutional search and seizure or from unwarranted search and seizure, and it does help protect people from being forced to speak. Rather, it allows them to plead the fifth. So we'll talk more about that in future videos. And I want to talk more about that in depth in future videos because I think cryptocurrencies truly have that potential to be revolutionary. Capital R, revolutionary. They really do. They're not the evolution of money. They're not the evolution of stores of value. Everybody treats Bitcoin like digital gold. That would only be an evolutionary step of the storage of value, storage and transfer of wealth. That's not what cryptocurrency or blockchain is at all. It is, make no bones about it, a revolution. And either you get it or we need to talk a little bit more. Okay. So I think there's some members of the audience and some people in the world who just need to learn a little bit more about it so they can capture that vision of what cryptocurrency really can be. So we'll talk more about that down the line. Guys, that's a channel update in a nutshell. I don't want to talk your ears off today about all that, but expect to see a lot more of that style of content. We will be talking more about mining down the line, different coins that you can mine, different ways that you can capitalize on the market a little bit and prepare yourself for when cryptocurrency mining returns to profitability for the average person with the average cost of power. So Daniel Keller, I appreciate you saying that in the comments. He gave me a hearty amen to my sermon about constitutional rights and how we can transfer some of the constitutional rights that should be protected here in the United States to other strata of society across the world and in other countries where they maybe don't have constitutional rights that are preserved in writing. So we'll talk about that, guys. We'll talk about it probably ad nauseum. You know who you just logged in to listen to, right? So we'll talk about that plenty in the future. But as far as cryptocurrency news, let's talk about some stuff that's actually worth talking about. And I'm going to hop out of your way really fast and take a look at this right here. First off, mineyour.biz is still up and running. It is still a free resource for you to get learning resources from. Rather, it's still an online website where you can get free learning resources. You can find merchandise that is related to cryptocurrency. We're adding t-shirts, designs, other kinds of merch there all the time. So if you feel so inclined, feel free to pick up something there. It does help the channel. So that's kind of nice. It doesn't pay any bills over here, frankly, but it does help the channel. It does help justify this time that I spend on the channel to my wife and kids. So that's always kind of nice. But as far as the learning area right here, we've got educational articles that are being built up on a consistent basis where you can learn about buying, trading, mining, and master nodes. So essentially ways of either obtaining this valuable asset class, cryptocurrency, or trading or growing it in some passive way or growing it in an active way so that you can improve your portfolio based on how you acquire and accumulate crypto, right? So wealth accumulation. By the way, this is not legal, financial, or business advice. Just saying these are educational resources that you can use at your leisure. So getting that out of the way, the next news I wanted to talk about was Zuko Wilcox. What? He's back in my newsfeed? I'm talking about Zuko Wilcox again, and I'm going to say something maybe complimentary. Yes, I am. And here's why. Zuko, as you know, I was not particularly pleased with what Zuko Wilcox did and with what the Zcash Foundation did last year by forking away, rather, by not actively taking care of the threat to GPU mineability and ASIC prevention. Osiris Twits, thank you. You're too kind. Complimented the beard. Thank you. So guys, Zuko Wilcox, when he was warned about the possibility of Equihash ASICs coming to the market. He was very dismissive, highly incredulous. He just said, I don't think that's a real thing. Sounds like a rumor. Ignored it. And then 2 to 3 months later, lo and behold, Zcash ASICs are on the market, right? Equihash is moving strong on ASIC chips. And it was too late for the Zcash Foundation to pivot quickly. Several other coin projects did. Right? Zhash happened. Equihash 1445, Equihash 1927, several other variants of Equihash were innovated by several other groups, and big shout out to those groups that leaned in completely. I was part of a fairly small Discord group called the ASIC Resistance, and there were several teams that were affected by this. Dan Keller among them. Thank you for being in the comments here right now, Dan, and watching this live. But Dan Keller among several other group leaders and project leaders within cryptocurrency coin projects that were affected by this because they used Equihash as their proof of work algorithm. And so they joined this group called the ASIC Resistance and had very open chats, great ecumenical conversation, right? Leaving all differences at the door and saying our core similarity is we all use Equihash to secure our network. What are we going to do? And there were some productive conversations. There were conversations about 51% attack, or rather anti-51% attack measures. Delayed proof of work, I don't know, was actively promoted at that time early on in those conversations, but I know that it came up later on. And then several other possible mechanisms of either delaying or thwarting 51% attack and hash rate bombs, and now, of course, being potentially owned by ASICs. It was a really big deal at the time, and I'm very proud to have been in some small way involved in that conversation and in that group, because I saw the open source community, the blockchain open source community, come together and say, we've got a threat, we're going to take it seriously. And I was very critical at that time of Zuko Wilcox because he didn't take it seriously at all. He just said, okay, well, doesn't seem like it's a real threat, whatever, and then moved on. And then ASICs came and gobbled up Zcash and Zencash, Horizon. And then Zencash forked away from Equihash to something that was GPU mineable and then forked back. So it was a little bit confusing. It was a very confusing time, I think, for GPU miners and at-home miners. So why is Zuko in the news now? Well, you probably already read it while I'm talking. But they've been able to, there you go, they call it recursive zero-knowledge proofs with no trusted setup. Why is that important, guys? Let me jump back in your face. Why is that important? Why is no trusted setup important? Well, it's important because of the accusation that Zcash can be, air quotes, owned through some kind of backdoor implementation. So a trusted setup would, in the minds of a truly paranoid person, which is good cryptocurrency citizens, we are all good and paranoid, right? Somewhat, regarding safety and security, certainly, and privacy. But allowing for trusted setup allows for the possibility of a third party or even a known actor to come in and say, well, I set it up and now everything moving forward is zero knowledge, right? Zero knowledge proof. Nothing moving from this point forward can be known. But that's not entirely true, is it? The person who set it up can mint their own coin supply. The person who set it up can, of course, introduce on some level a bit of a backdoor onto that network. And Zuko has been working on that. And of course, the electric coin company, rather now, the Zcash Foundation, has been working on that for some time, trying to figure out how do we eliminate the trusted setup. This is something that Zcoin had been working on as well. So, and then of course, Veil, that forked their privacy from Zcoin using the Zcoin protocol or the Zero Coin protocol. So there are a lot of coins that have been focusing on solving this problem, but none so high profile as Zcash. Actually, I'm going to speak there. Monero does too. There's no trusted setup on Monero, which is why so many crypto nodes fork from Monero. But Monero isn't perfect, and ring signatures aren't perfect. In terms of privacy and anonymity, it is not nearly as private and privacy-oriented as ZK snarks. So these zero knowledge proofs they're a pretty big deal on Zcash in terms of privacy. They're kind of the standard bearer. It's not private by default, but to Zuko's credit, he's recently talked about having the privacy by default or the private by default moniker apply to Zcash as well. But right now, right here, they call this new protocol Halo. And there you go. Recursive proof composition without trusted setup. That just launched today. I'm really excited about this. So you should see a link to this article down in the description. I highly recommend that you read it. I think this is relevant news. I think this is the sort of news that really merits our attention. Yeah, I could tell you, hey, this coin is profitable to mine on GPUs, or here's a way you can do a tutorial on setting up this masternode or this new coin on AMD cards or NVIDIA. But I think this kind of news matters most, frankly. Okay. So got a comment from the comment section saying that your college was the U.S. Army. You got paid to shoot various weapons. It was really cool and fun. All right, man. Hoorah. Good for you. That's great. So guys, yeah. Again, you won't hear me talk about it very, very frequently, but I also back the blue, and I'm very, very proud of our armed forces and people who put themselves in harm's way around the world to help keep other people safe. So thank you. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about some of the other news. Frankly, that was it. I think that's the biggest news to come out of today's news cycle. There's some other stuff. I had a community member reach out to me and say, hey, Seth, your review on Cinovate was okay, but look at what Cinovate's done. They increased their dev fee to 11%, and now DPoW is going to be delayed because of something that happened with Zowi's difficulty algorithm. And I can't help but think that there are so many projects that just need support right now. So if there is any incentive for you to mine certain projects or to set up masternodes for certain projects, go ahead and seek that. Go ahead and seek that incentive. Try to align your incentives with projects that you believe in. Do your very best and encourage them as much as you can. I just don't think it's a really good time for us to try to crap on projects that we think have made some little mistake. We've got from the comment section, Yashnek. Thank you for saying hello. So guys, yeah, let's be supportive of as many projects as we can be. Just as many as we can be. It's right now is where it counts, right? When the chips are down, because this time next year, pending a positive outcome for some of those projects, they are, they're going to appreciate that. And of course, our involvement will result in some block rewards, whether it's mining or masternodes or whatever else. So win-win-win. The incentives should be aligned enough that if you find something you believe in, please don't try to pick nits. Same is true with FPGA development and with GPU development. Things are really slow in hardware and in software development right now. So the releases for releases for, say, like Claymore or Phoenix Miner or any of your favorite miners, they're probably going to be a little bit slower right now. Yeah, deal with it. That's just going to be the case. But the reality is it's all relative, right? So it's relative to net hash, and it's relative to the kinds of improvements, the incremental improvements that will incentivize participation. So do what you can, right? Do what you can to stay in the game is what I'm saying. Be supportive. So, all right. Terry B is saying something that, and I get this too. I do get the sentiment. Terry B says, not many projects left that I still have faith in, and hard to hold anything other than BTC in this market. I hear you, Terry B. The one issue with that is, though, that when we artificially inflate BTC dominance to, say, 60, 70%, then we play into the market manipulators, the market makers that then buy up all the liquidity, all the volume, the available volume of some of the alts that we were working on before. Now, am I saying that you need to, you're not going to hear me say alt season. It's alt season because of look at the BTC dominance. That's not what I'm saying. And you know that I don't offer technical analysis on this channel. I just don't feel that's in my ability to offer at all. But what I will say is that when BTC dominance is so high, if we just let go of our alts that easily, then if there is a return, I won't say when, but if there is a return, hypothetically, then we've given up a lot of our bags to people who bought them cheap. They bought them their cheapest ever. It costs us nothing to just hodl. It really, nothing. Unless you had to liquidate already, and you had to do so in order to pay down OPEX as a miner or OPEX as a masternode operator, then fine. But it really costs nothing to hold on to some of these coins, especially if they're supported by some smarter devices, or if you have some kind of air-gapped wallet or offline wallet solution that you've set up. It costs nothing. You don't have to have a node running somewhere. You don't have to have a full node at any point. If you're not planning on doing any transactions, just secure your seed phrase and you're done. It's really that simple. So that's what I love about cryptocurrency. You can sleep on it for a couple of years. If you really wanted to, you could sleep on it for a couple of years. You're good. So, all right. So Yashin's asking me about a specific project, and I'll get back to that in a little bit. And it looks like the walkthrough guru believes that a return to profitability for certain altcoins won't happen until the BTC halvening. And you may well be right. That may be totally accurate, that prediction for the date. But what I'm saying is that right now, letting go of the cryptos that we've maybe mined inexpensively, like we got them subsidized because we mined them. Buying them back, even if you did sell them right now, buying them back at the indication of a potential bull run for alts returning to higher profit, you're not going to do as well. Frankly, I'm just going to call this as plain as day. You're going to FOMO back in and you're going to get wrecked. Like you're going to lose whatever, 20, 30, 50% of your value by trying to sell now, like panic sell and then panic buy back in. I think it's fair to say those of us who aren't traders with like ice running through our veins are not going to do so well when it comes like, oh, we got to make these like these trading moves. No, if what we're used to is mining, then we got to stick to what we know. I think just my opinion, right? So guys, this is, education and entertainment purposes, but my opinion is that like those of us who are a little bit better at trading and have spent, or rather mining and masternode operation and the IT aspect of creating infrastructure for these networks, probably better for us to kind of stay in our lanes a bit, just a bit. But if we're trying to time markets and if we're trying to do high frequency trading, you better have education on it and you better have practice. That's all I'm going to say there. You got to know what you're doing. So, and then Terry B is saying that, so he says, if history is anything to go off of, then this consolidation phase, it could take about a year. So a walkthrough guru, I'm right there with you. I think you're right. There might be a couple of markers within Bitcoin that then signal that dominance will decrease from Bitcoin, but I just don't. Yeah, it's not going to change my fundamental approach of like, all right, seek cheap power, set up rigs, try to automate as much as possible so that I don't spend too much of my time, right? I don't spend too much of any one resource. I don't overcapitalize in this area, drop a ton of CapEx on it, and then keep my OpEx really low. And then just make sure that I mine stuff that, where incentives are aligned. I believe in the project, yes, and the relative value of that project justifies me participating in shoring up their network, right? Giving them hash rate. So that still works. So day zero mining, finding spec plays that I can mine for an afternoon or 3 days or maybe a week if it's really promising. That still makes sense with that model. So just my 2 cents, guys. But crypto news, as far as that goes, I think that Zuko making that announcement and the Halo the Halo non-trusted setup or deleting the trusted setup from Zcash is a big freaking deal. And it's an especially big deal because you're going to find that projects that have forked from it that maybe claim to be ready to solve problems down the line that they say that Zcash hasn't solved. Well, here's a major, top 50 project, depending on the day of the week, right? It can slide into the top 15 or the top 10. Depending on how you sort, right, for value in the market, not just market cap. But here's a top project saying we are getting better. We're getting better all the time. So we need to see this more from more projects. Monero, for example, we need to be demanding that certain things within Monero improve, for example, right? The privacy maybe improve a little bit because ring CTs, ring signatures, they're good. They could be better. Zcoin, for example, you guys have heard me praise Zcoin and from them moving from the zero coin protocol to their latest iterations of their protocol that's somewhere in between like in terms of the amount of privacy and the mathematical difficulty of cryptography and the privacy involved, that it's somewhere in between ring signatures, ring CTs, and ZK snarks. It's not nearly as involved as ZK snarks, but it's always on, right? So it is private by default. There is no like public transaction that you have to opt out of with Zcoin. So these projects, guys, they're going to be forked the most, and they should be receiving the most development love. Frankly, instead of just forking these projects, why don't developers go and try to contribute to some of these repos? In my opinion, I think that'd be a good way for them to go. That's why I think this is newsworthy, guys. The other stuff, like whatever, what is Vitalik Buterin wearing today to the next conference? Did he pick his nose on the train? I don't care, man. Who cares? Made some offhand comment about how it needs to scale more. This is not news. It's not news at all. However, what is news is the evaluation of ProgPow by auditors who don't really understand hardware. That is a bit disconcerting. Am I a ProgPow fanatic? Am I a ProgPow supporter? No, I've been kind of wait and see the entire time. I think it's another interesting proof of work algorithm, but no better or worse than some others that are actually in production now, whereas ProgPow kind of largely isn't. So there you go. So yeah, I'm seeing some chatter in the comments about how 100x moves may be possible with spec mining and how they're less likely in markets like this, and I totally agree. Moving sideways like this with Bitcoin dominance so high, 100x from some alts, unless they're a brand new day zero launched coin, getting 100x on an altcoin at home mining play, it better be brand spanking new. And it better stand a snowball's chance of making it to exchange and making that 100x on launch day, right on listing date of exchange. In this market, that's unlikely, right? 100x on listing day to exchange, because there's not enough. BTC isn't pulling everybody off. Like the other alts are not riding BTC's coattails right now with BTC so dominant. So again, am I doing some kind of like basic technical analysis here? No, not really. I think that's probably a trend that most people can see, though. So Terry B is saying that you need to sit on some coins for 6 to 12 months. I largely agree with that. If you're doing spec plays right now, you need to be able to gamble with what you can lose, right? So mine with OPEX money that you can afford to just shelve. And for stuff that isn't spec plays at home right now, mining, definitely NiceHash is a dumb play right now. Mining to NiceHash is like the worst possible use of your hash rate. Just put it that way. So if you're doing something where you're auto converting to Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, etc., whatever, any marketplace, I should add, not just NiceHash, but any marketplace where you're auto converting, probably a waste of your time. Find projects you actually believe in where the incentives are aligned, whether it's like Terry's saying, the waiting game, or where you know that you can kind of rinse by going to some exchanges now, right? Slough off assets to pay down your OPEX now. I think that's probably a better play, personally. But, what do I know? So back over here to the little tab. Let's chat about some of the stuff while I go through the 8 values quiz. So I get asked occasionally, like, Seth, what are your views on this? Or if it's not perfectly clear, like, where do you stand here? I had some coworkers when I was at Microsoft say, oh, have you done the I side with challenge yet? Tell me, who's your candidate? And they were all very, very disappointed that I didn't side with Bernie Sanders, because that's who they all thought was just the bee's knees. We're going to go with 8 values. Thank you, Shane Killian, for bringing this to my attention. You did a video about this earlier on, so we're going to do this live. Series of statements. For each one, click the button with your opinion on it. Got it! Oh, I was going to say, wait, never mind, but too late. Ha ha ha. So, all right. Oppression by corporations is more of a concern than oppression by governments. Oh, dear. Necessary for the government to intervene in the economy to protect consumers. In the freer the markets, the freer the people. Better to maintain a balanced budget than ensure welfare for all citizens. I'm not going to have super strong opinions on a lot of this stuff, by the way, guys. As I'm going through this test, just so you know, I tend not to be like, oh, all in, except for a couple of issues. So I'm going to reveal some of my bias here. And I warned you in advance, said that in the description, that I'm going to alienate 50% of the population based on whatever the particular value or category is. So what is it? 50% of you times I don't know what the odds are across 8 categories. So we can derive whatever that percentage is, but whatever it is, like what an eighth of the audience or 16th of the audience is going to be like, oh, I hate this guy completely. Worse than before. So you've been warned. So publicly funded research is more beneficial to the people than leaving it to the market. That's a tough one. International trade is beneficial from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Kind of? That was strangely phrased. It would be best if social programs were abolished in favor of private charity. Ooh. Gosh darn it, these are trick questions. And I know that they are. I know that they're trick questions because it hasn't been tried. It's like true socialism would work if only we would try it. It's like, well, true charity might work too if only we would try it. Don't know. Let's see. I'm going to say agree there. Taxes should be increased on the rich to provide for the poor. I fundamentally disagree. Inheritance is a legitimate form of wealth. Well, people get the wealth from it, so yes. Public utilities should, like roads and electricity, should be publicly owned. Oh my gosh. Oh, in Texas, you can join co-ops where you own utilities. This is just disappointing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and roads too. Good grief. I'm going to say agree. Excessive government intervention is a threat to the economy. Agree. Those with greater ability to pay should receive better health care. My gosh. That's already fundamentally true. So the premise is false when you say that they should. Fine. Yes. Yeah, that's true. Quality education is a right of all people. It depends to what level. Again, there's not enough detail here to say yes or no, so unsure. The means of production should belong to the workers who use them. Disagree. I knew a guy that if I let him hang on to the tools for the job, they would never come back to the job site. United Nations should be abolished. Disagree. I just don't think the U.S. should be a part of it. It's a different thing. Military action by our nation is often necessary to protect it. Not as often as you think. I support your regional unions, such as the European Union. Well, I didn't vote on Brexit, but if I were there, I probably would have been one of those guys that did. Sorry, guys. Told you that some of you would hate me after this video. Important to maintain our national sovereignty. Strongly agree. United world government would be beneficial to mankind. Strongly disagree. So, for example, think of Pol Pot. Think of Mugabe. Think of all of the worst possible people to have come out of the third world. Maybe it's because they were in impoverished areas. And so they were fighting for what they perceived to be extremely limited resources and the means of distribution of those resources to be able to control markets because they wanted to try to fix things there the way they knew how. But it doesn't matter. Their attitudes don't really translate well over to the first world. So no, I wouldn't want them to be part of any kind of a new world order. They'd be terrible. They'd be as bad as they were in their own little regimes. It is more important to retain peaceful relations than to further our strength. You ever hear the quote, speak softly, but carry a big stick? So don't strongly disagree, just kind of disagree there. Walk through guru. LOL, Brexit smacks his head. Yeah, I told you I'm gonna hurt feelings here. Wars do not need to be justified to other countries. What? I don't understand the wording on some of these. What do you mean? So our national wars don't need to be justified to third parties, or they don't need to be justified to the second party that we are attacking? Oh my gosh. I'm just going to say unsure on that one. Military spending is a waste of money. Disagree. We would not have the onion router if there weren't military spending. International aid is a waste of money. Also disagree. My nation is great. Well, I'm not going to strongly agree, but I agree. Research should be conducted on an international scale. Well, how about this? I have the internet and a brain, so why don't I just read international research? Duh. I feel dumber taking this quiz. Oh my gosh. So research should be, oh my gosh. Oh, I'm just going to put unsure there again. Government should be accountable to the international community. They are accountable to the international community, so agree. Even when protesting an authoritarian government, violence is not acceptable. Strongly disagree. The country that I live in is proof otherwise. My religious values should be spread as much as possible. As much as possible. I wonder why you would phrase it in that way. Okay, I love the comments there. Bitcoin going to 8.4K. You know what I'm going to do? While this is, let me go ahead and pull open CoinGecko. And I'll go ahead and give us a split screen here, guys. So that way we're not completely pulled away. Dang. Yeah, we got a nice strong dip there, though. That's good. Love seeing that. Okay. 8 values and boom. There we go. So we've got some price action right there. So thank you. Bitcoin going to 0. Yes. Yes, going to 0. Guys, prepare your Coinbase accounts and major credit cards. Get yourself ready for a major buying the dip event. Yeah, not advice. Hashtag not advice. So that is a nice little dip though this week. That's cool. So we'll get that going later on. My religious values should be spread as much as possible. Here's the thing, guys. I think you may have been able to guess based on some of my comments, but I spent 2 years actively trying to spread the values of my religion at one time. It's been a long, long time since then, but I did do that. So, I'm at odds. I'm like, that sweaty 2-button guy, right? So, here's the thing. Because I think that most people would look at this question. I'm gonna do a deep dive here, right? A little bit of analysis paralysis. I'll get you involved in my paralysis, but most people, when you tell them like, yeah, but I mean, no, Islam. That's what I mean. My values should be spread as much as possible. I think that you should kill gay people and you should oppress women. When you spell it out for them, they say, oh, wait, no, I thought you were all about love. So anyway, I'm just going to say agree. Our nation values should be spread as much as possible. We certainly seem to think so in the 1950s and 60s, and we had no problem doing it. And countries that have tried to follow appear to be doing a little bit better financially now. I don't know. That's not me saying we're the best country in the world. We are not the best. We don't have the highest freedom index. We don't have the highest quality of life index. Just saying a lot of countries have tried to emulate some things they liked about it. So important to maintain law and order. Agree. The general populace makes poor decisions. That's actually true. Oh, so torn. Yeah. Actually true. So, man, I've got to say agree. Victimless crimes such as drug use should not be crimes at all. Strongly agree. Sacrifice of some civil liberties is necessary to protect us from acts of terrorism. Government surveillance is necessary in the modern world. Oh, it hurts to say so, but kind of. I mean, whether it's necessary or not, Pandora's out of the box. Rather, Pandora's box is open. Pandora was not contained in a box. Pandora owned a box. Sorry. I apologize. The very existence of the state is a threat to our liberty. I mean, yes, fundamentally, yes, that's true. But it's another one of those things where the genie's out of the bottle. Pandora's box is open. The state exists. So, agreed. And there's a caveat. Regardless of political opinions, it is important to side with your country. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's important. I don't think it's important to side with your country in all things. There are people in the United States. I mean, if we didn't have healthy debate here and the ability to vote, we'd have problems. So, but it's still important. In my opinion, though, there's still a place for not national pride, but national support. No authority should be left unquestioned. Generally speaking, yes, I won't say strongly agree. A hierarchical state is best. Strongly disagree. It is important that the government allows the majority opinion, even if it is wrong. That it follows the majority opinion, even if it is wrong. Ooh, this is a tough one. We're bringing up questions of morality. But what I will say is, what's the point of voting if you don't take the vote seriously? If you don't, you're actually in a totalitarian regime. You're no longer in anything resembling either a representative republic or a democracy, a representative democracy, or whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call it. You're not following the voice of the people if you don't allow for following the opinion of the majority. So Yeah, agree. The stronger the leadership, the better. Castro, he was very strong. Very, very strong. But it's also generally true that a lot of people who we view as good leaders from years past have been quite strong. Certainly strongly opinionated and certainly strong in their policies. So I think we have to say yes. Democracy is more than the decision-making process. Strongly disagree. That's all it is. Ooh. So Big Crypto Dave is saying, what do you think about the fact that 24 states in the union have electoral college members that can vote however they want, no matter what the people of their state vote? It's a good question. It's separate from this, so it's a little more nuanced. And frankly, I wish that they had worded it in the way that you did, Dave. I really do, because it would make more sense, right? Some of these questions I don't think are well worded, and I think we're going to find out some surprises at the end in terms of their interpretation of my values. We'll see. But that's a good one, man. That's a really good one. We should talk about that. I want to, in the future conversations, though, I want to stick to more fundamentals. Yeah. Hey, Smooth Crypto. Good to see you in the comments. Environmental regulations are essential. That's a tough one, because on some level, yes. Some people may not remember the crisis of having a hole in the ozone layer over the state of California in the 1980s, 90s, and then the discontinued use of chlorofluorocarbons apparently was indicated as part of the cause there. Rather, discontinuing it was indicated to be part of the solution to clearing up that hole in the ozone layer. I don't know that I can read any papers that will prove that in my mind beyond any shadow of a doubt. But it seems that legislation was necessary there. So that's a tough one. I think probably, yeah. But I won't say I strongly agree, because I think sometimes the regulation goes too far. A better world will come from automation, science, and technology. Ooh, we don't know. Nobody can know that. Like for real. Nobody can know for sure that the world will be better when there's kind of like general AI married with robotics. We don't know. Elon Musk is super paranoid about this, and I think he's got every right to be. We don't know for sure that life will get better. It could get much worse. So, unsure. Children should be educated in religious or traditional values. By me, in my own home, hell yeah. Traditions are of no value on their own. Traditions are of no value on their own. Yeah, so walkthrough group was saying is helps mining. Yeah, general AI. I don't know what general AI does. I think that the specific AI does. I think that very, very specific applications do, but that's not for our intents and purposes. When we talk about general AI, I don't think it's the same thing. I think that's we'll call that machine learning, which is fundamentally different. So, traditions are of no value on their own. That's kind of the sort of that's the argument that sweet isn't sweet without bitter existing in the world. So, agree? Religion should play a role in government. Oh dear. That's a tough one. In as much as you have a body of people that have a shared moral system, a shared system of moral judgment that may or may not come from a shared history of Judeo-Christian value or Islamic value, it's going to be hard to separate the two, because the people's fundamental concept of right and wrong will be informed by religion. But I don't know that you should have a cleric that you should have a religious cleric in your parliament. I don't know that that's important, right? And I can't tell if that's what they're really asking, right? I don't know. Ugh. Yeah. So, my gosh. So I have to hit unsure again. Churches should be taxed the same way every other institution, the way other institutions are taxed. I think in the United States, we've proven that every religious institution that makes the case that it's a church, including the church of Satanism or whatever else, or the church of the flying spaghetti monster, I think we've proven that they all receive tax breaks the same. So when they are able to show that they have a genuine belief system that people there at least self-report to believe, then they're treated the same way. So No, I don't think they should be taxed the same way as other institutions are taxed. I just think that all churches that are actual systems of worship should be taxed the same. And we've already proven that they are. So this is a weird question, in my opinion, and kind of dumb. I don't know. That and yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. Climate change is currently one of the greatest threats to our way of life. Well, I tell you what, the man who invented the internet, he got it right when he said that climate change would absolutely destroy the world by 2013. It is important that we go to work as a united world to combat climate change. I mean, if we could, that would make sense because the biggest offenders, like the industrial countries that do a lot more manufacturing than we do, such as China, they're far worse offenders. But, oh man. Yeah, I've got to say unsure on that one. Society was better many years ago than it is now. Society? That's a tough one. I mean, I'm having a chat with an international audience right now, live streaming video across a medium that everybody has access to because of advancements in technology, but they simultaneously make us more anxious, depressed, and suicidal than we were years ago. I don't know. That's a tough one. Dang. Unsure. It is important that we maintain the traditions of our past. I think there are some traditions that are worth keeping. After we question them, I think they're still worth keeping. It is important that we think in the long term beyond our lifespans. For estate planning, yeah, that's what estate planning is. Reason is more important than maintaining our culture. Well, I will say that, yeah, some people make culture self-important because of the role of tradition in their families, because they never question anything. So again, there is some reason that is worth putting a premium on over culture. So sort of agree. Drug use should be legalized or decriminalized. Strongly agree. Same-sex marriage should be legal. All right, guys, here it goes. We're going to have the knockdown drag out. I don't think that marriage should be something that any government is in the business of deciding at all. I think civil union should be recognized. I think that two consenting adults who are of an age where it can be proven that they're developmentally secure mentally, I think that the government should recognize that for potential tax breaks, but that was primarily instituted and kind of geared towards marriage because marriage as such typically produced new taxpayers vis-a-vis offspring. So this is another tough one, guys. This is a little bit more complicated than just saying like same-sex marriage should be legal because equal sign bumper sticker. Guys, you can't boil down certain particular topics to a slogan, catchphrase, or bumper sticker. You just can't. And this is one of those things. I'm just going to say unsure on that one. No cultures are superior to others. Strongly disagree. I think that strep throat culture is far superior, far more virulent than the average throat swab. Sex outside marriage is immoral. Well, guys, you're going to call me a prude. Well, I've been called a prude, I'll say, by people who are like themselves so utterly lost in the world. They have no real clear direction. But I'm going to say that, yeah, that's true. That is, I strongly agree with that. And let me justify that. Let me justify that to other people. Am I saying that? Am I being whatever? I don't want to come across as a Pollyanna and say like, oh, yo, so everybody should just be maintain celibacy until they're married. That's not going to happen. I know that. Abstinence for kids, for example, doesn't happen, and it definitely doesn't happen without having there be a strong incentive for them. And so it's extremely rare. Extremely rare. However, it's like saying. This is like saying, okay, so driving over the speed limit is against the law. Well, yeah, duh. A ton of people do it anyway. Right? We know it's probably more dangerous to drive over the speed limit because if you have an accident, your life will change forever. right? So we'll draw the parallel here. If pregnancy occurs, the lives of these participants will change forever. If an STD is transmitted, the lives of the participants will change forever. So duh, we know there are real consequences. So in my sort of like belief window, my belief system, yeah, that constitutes sinful behavior. So something that is immoral. So there you go. Strongly agree. If we accept migrants at all, it is important that they are assimilated, that they assimilate into our culture. Yeah, I agree to a level, definitely to a level. I definitely agree to a degree that we should assimilate other cultures into our own. However, it doesn't quite work like that, right? Again, it's one of those nuanced things where it's like, if wishes were fishes, we would all be fed. Abortion should be prohibited in most or all cases. Ooh, do I get a vote on this? Really? Don't know if I do. I really don't. But what I will say is that the vote that I get personally, if we jump back a few questions, the vote that I get personally as to whether or not one woman should have an abortion is whether or not I ever even choose to have sex with her. Because then it's my child. So you see kind of where my worldview comes from for me, and kind of the governing logic and morality for me. Am I going to tell everybody in the world they have to live like me? No, I'm not going to tell everybody that they have to. But I really do think that some of these are common sense choices. Yeah, playing with fire. What I will say also, Dave Chappelle said it in his special, right? Like, I don't think I should have a say in this. But if a woman does want to have an abortion, I don't think the man should have to pay for it. I don't know. Leave it to comedians to be able to say the truth without getting crucified in the court of public opinion, right? You're like getting convicted in the court of public opinion. They're the only ones allowed to repeat common sense anymore. So there should be a prohibited in most or all cases. I don't know that it should be prohibited. I don't think access should be prohibited. Gun ownership should be prohibited for those without a valid reason. We'll talk about this, guys, in upcoming videos. I support single-payer universal health care. Well, I mean, because that's working so well in Canada, right? Just ask everybody in Canada how they love their health care. Prostitution should be illegal. Prostitution is illegal. Maintaining family values is essential. Well, strongly agree, just not through the government, because they're not my family. To chase progress at all costs is dangerous. I do agree, but that same argument is levied at capitalism, right? To chase profits at all costs is dangerous. Genetic modification is a force for good, even on humans. Well, on some level, kind of. Here's why. Guys, I'm going to talk to you about my opinion on this. Genetic modification is a force for good, and it has resulted in decreased hunger throughout the world. The so-called Green Revolution, it kind of was miraculous. And the people who were responsible for it, their primary concern was feeding more of the world's population. If it were not for genetic modification, we wouldn't have the crop yields that we do internationally. Granted, we wouldn't see monocrops taking over and choking out competition either, so it's a real tricky situation. But we would very likely have not been able to support the current world population without some adjustment and without some intervention, right, to help shape the world's food supply in that direction. So I don't know. I don't think I understand this domain well enough to be able to say for sure it's a good thing or a bad thing, like black or white, yes or no. So I've got to say unsure on this one, because I know there's an upside and a downside. We should open our borders to immigration. So let me just lay down some knowledge here, because these guys, again, they're trying to poke at like pet issues that they think people have, people are going to vote on, but most people are not only ignorant to a lot of these issues, but they are willfully ignorant, refusing to learn what the numbers are. But in this country, we legally support 1 million immigrants every year. So there are 1 million legal immigrants that come into the United States every single year. And then there's at least that amount that come in illegally. I don't think that we owe everybody in the world a passport that has a United States photo on it or a US ID. It's just yeah, I'm with Dave on this. I think these are way too subjective, and it's obvious. It seems like there's a very obvious left of center bent to it, or they're trying to pander to people who are left of center to like draw out certain conclusions there to try to make them feel like, oh yeah, echo chamber, I'm validated. But yeah, immigration. Most people don't even know what the numbers are here. Like, they don't even know what our current immigration status is. So why would they be qualified to even have an opinion on whether or not immigration should be opened up? If they don't know anything about it now, then what qualified opinion could they have on it? But no, I strongly disagree. We should not open our borders to immigration. Governments, rather, no more than we already do. We already let in 1 million of the best and brightest minds in the world every year. Is that not enough? Like we're already accused by other countries of causing brain drain, and that doesn't include like political refugees, political asylum. That's just people who apply legally and get in. Governments should be as concerned about foreign citizens as they are about those within their borders. Yeah, they definitely should be, especially if they are some kind of a threat to the security. Yeah. Should be concerned about foreign citizens as they are about those within their borders. I agree that they should be, but not for the reasons that maybe they're indicating here. Yeah, if, for example, we lived in an industrial country where like we were still mid-industrial revolution, and we knew that there was some kind of runoff that went down into the Gulf of Mexico and then poisoned everybody, south of Yucatan, like, right? Like that would, or south of Central America, then right, we should probably be more concerned about that. But I don't know exactly which policies they're referring to when they talk about this. So this is a little bit weird. I'm going to say unsure then. All people, regardless of factors like culture or sexuality, should be treated equally. That's true, but in what way? Equally how? Equally in what way? Meaning that they should be given reasonable access to housing and to a job and to public services, because those things are all offered equally now. There is no inequality there now. It's so vague. Okay. But yes, I agree. Equality. The way you phrased it, it's basically impossible for me not to agree. It's important that we further my group's goals above all others. Which group? Which group? People who are third culture, whose dad was from Cuba and mom was from a farm? A farm in the great white north of the United States? Like, I don't... Yes, all those children of partial immigrant farmer families. That's my group. We're going to take all you suckers down. Okay, here's my 8 values. On the economic axis, I favor the market by 61%. On the diplomatic axis, I am more patriotic than I am a fan of the New World Order. Crypto Dave brings up a really great point where he talks about brain drain going in the opposite direction within our microcosm of crypto, within our niche. How we're seeing companies being formed, of course, in Estonia, which we don't physically need to be there, but companies being formed in Estonia and seeing people expat to Western Europe or to, say, Puerto Rico, which is, of course, a protectorate of the United States. So you're still a United States citizen. You only have to live there 180 days out of the year, and you can still come back into the United States to vote. But those are only 2 of many options. So, yeah, a lot of people leaving the United States, at least the lower 48, and seeking their fortune elsewhere. Good point. But there's no other country that gets slammed the way that we do here. Man, I mean, 1 million people every year. There's no other country that has it quite the way the United States does, with the number of people. It's just the sheer volume of bodies being thrown at it and people begging for a new way of life. So it's a tricky one, man. Civil Axis, I'm a moderate. I don't lean towards liberty or authority. That's strange. That's just because I said I don't know so many times because the questions were so sneakily worded. Societal Axis, neutral. Tradition versus progress. This actually is not that far from how I feel about it. I do think that the United States, while it's not perfect, it's one of the best things going. One of them. There are a lot of great countries in the world. Don't get me wrong. Plenty of great countries in the world. The United States is one of those great countries, right? It's just, it's up there. That's all I'm going to say. I would much prefer trying to do what I do in crypto here than in parts of sub-Saharan Africa. It would be really, really hard to do what I want to do in sub-Saharan Africa. Straight up. It would just be really hard. So I like trying to do that here in the United States. And then being patriotic, of course, and being a sort of a market-driven individual, of course. Anybody who's into crypto also, like, you need to understand that there's not just the propensity to translate and push out the freedoms that we enjoy here in this country out to other places of the world, but the thing that drives it is an economic incentive. If there was not an economic incentive, this technology would be in the camp of so many other open source technologies that are still largely unknown or forgotten or not cared about. People just don't care about the next best open source file system, right? Like, they don't care that ZFS can scale all the way up to a single hard drive volume that if you dipped it into the ocean, you'd melt every you would burn off all the world's oceans into a giant steam vapor that goes into outer space. Like, they don't care that technology exists, that there's a hypothetical limit that would allow you to use up every possible hard drive and SSD resource ever created. That doesn't matter to most people. Is it revolutionary? Sure. But there's no economic incentive to care. Crypto has that. So yeah, I'm a fan of the market. Let's see. Mohammed is saying, Seth, how you doing? Hi, good people on this awesome channel. Well, hello. Thank you for tagging me and saying hi. So yeah, I don't think that I'm super surprised by most of this, except for this, where it says moderate conservatism, they think. They say, I'm a moderate conservative. Ideological matching is a work in progress and is much less accurate than the values and axes. You can send these results by copying and pasting the URL to us. Yeah, I just don't agree. I definitely do identify as a bit more of a libertarian because I think that when it comes to certain social attitudes, for example, they say, I think that what is it? The prostitution should be illegal. And it's like, well, it is illegal. I think it shouldn't be illegal. I think, drugs should be legalized or decriminalized. This was a radical thing, guys, on the left and right. This was a radical idea 10 years ago. People have really short-term memories. But if you ask a Democrat, should we legalize marijuana? They might say, yeah, marijuana for sure, but heroin, no. We could never legalize heroin. We could never legalize crack. We could never legalize cocaine. What would happen? Think of the children. We could never do those things. Conservatives would say the same thing. And libertarians from the middle would laugh at both of them and say, no, guys, just legalize it and then teach people correct principles and let them govern themselves. Stop interfering so much. So anyway. Yeah, Chris Moo's gonna go play some 9-ball. Guys, that was pretty much that's my little 8 values test right there. I don't even think it was a very good test of exactly what it is how I view the world. But do you have any questions for me about any of these answers that you saw up on the board right over here? The results of my little axes right there for economy, diplomacy, civility, and society, I guess. Let me know down in the comments section. And if you are watching this after the fact, you're not watching it live, then thank you so much for hitting that like button, for clicking the subscribe button, and then clicking the bell icon so that you're notified when I go live next time. Thank you. But guys, what questions do you have for me about some of these results? I got to say, I'm a little bit surprised by what they said here. I don't know if this is the best possible indication. I'm seeing... While we're waiting for some responses there, I'm seeing that Bitcoin is definitely on a bit of a downward trend here still over the last 24 hours. We're scraping the $10,000 mark. But again, I'm not surprised by this and I'm not shocked. And it doesn't hurt my feelings. I think we're fine. I really do. I think we're fine. But looking at the top 10 here, guys, what bothers me about, and I mentioned before that Zuko Wilcox, his announcement for Zcash, that was worth actually talking about. What bothers me is that in this top 10, we don't have a single coin that is privacy oriented. It isn't until we get to the top 11, or the 11th entry in terms of market cap, by market cap, that Monero is even on the list. That has me concerned. Why don't we value privacy enough? Because in my opinion, cryptocurrency needs to strive for privacy. That was like the big buzzword in end of 2018 going into 2019. Privacy was a buzzword, and I just don't think that there were enough coins that were really focusing on it. Zcash and their announcement of this new protocol, right, the Halo protocol, I think that they were doing it because they knew that was what they launched their platform on, and they can see that Monero is far ahead of them in the stacked ranking here for market cap. So that's private. Stellar Lumens, nope. Leo, Tron, nope. HT, OKB, XTZ, Dash does have private send. I don't think most people view Dash as being as private as Monero, right? But there it is in the top 20, I guess. So there's that. Hey, somebody asked about Ethereum Classic. Clearly, it hasn't dipped as much as several of the other top 50 coins here. So something's going on. I'm going to pop that open into another tab. Maybe we can take a look at it. But IOTA right there. Link, Atom, Neo, Ontology, USDC. Nope, definitely not private there. Zem, Crypto, Maker. There's Zcash, number 29. In almost 30 coins, only 2 of them that have privacy as the primary function. Good grief. Why? Why, guys? Why aren't we supporting this more? So Walkthrough Guru, we were saying that privacy is not something that can be easily accepted in currencies, except that we've got the issue of many decades and centuries of cash and cash equivalents being accepted as currency. So no, we've got a perfectly private, portable, divisible, and fungible currency in the form of cash that many cultures have accepted. So either cash or some sort of token economy that it's a bearer bond, but it's private. It's private. If you want to store it in a vault, you can. If you want to store it underneath your mattress, you can. If you want to carry it with you in your pocket so nobody else sees it, you can. And then if you want to spend it in a dark alley where nobody else is watching you, so to speak, you can. So cash has always been that private currency that every culture has accepted for a long, long time. Why, going into the digital age of currency, aren't we accepting? Why are we not rather demanding that we have a digital cash equivalent? That's what Dash was supposed to stand for, right? Like first Dark Note, right? Or Dark Coin. And then they turned it to digital cash, Dash. But so there's Dash and Monero that a lot of people like because of that. And then Zcash. But even Dash, like nobody would argue that Dash has the same privacy orientation and feature set that Monero and Zcash do. Okay, so yeah, Walkthrough Guru was saying as far as regulations, what's difficult there, guys, is that there's an issue with total supply auditability. And yeah, total supply auditability. And you just made a comment there, Walkthrough Guru, in the comments there. You mentioned that if it can't be tracked, it does not work for regulation. That's kind of true. So if the total coin supply can't be audited reliably, then you won't know for sure, at least in a cryptocurrency, as new block rewards come out, you won't know for sure that, when is $10 million not $10 million? Well, when you have a private printing press. That's when $10 million in a microeconomy is not $10 million, because some yutz over at his private office went and printed 5 million more. So Monero kind of can't be audited. That's the big issue there with having it broadly accepted, is that it can't be audited. Zcash, the supply is auditable, but it's not private by default. And privacy does come with a cost in terms of network bandwidth used, right? Transactions, the blockchain growing. So yeah, it's a bit of an issue, right? Like it's a bit of an issue trying to figure out, like, how do we balance the two? How do we balance auditability and coin supply and making it easy to use, right? Easy enough to use and easy enough to work with for regulation, but then also very aggressively preserving privacy. So, guys, kudos to Zuko Wilcox and the Electronic Cash Corporation and the Zcash Foundation for coming up with the Halo protocol. I can't wait to see how they implement it. I can't wait to see what forks of Zcash do. I can't wait to see what Z Classic does that went on a tear, right, for mining profitability today. I can't wait to see if Z Classic merges that back into their code. They rebase to Zcash from the Zcash, this Halo protocol, so that they have a much more robust coin, but with no founder's fee, right? No founder's reward. So Crypto Dave is saying the fiat cash we use today are serial numbered for a reason. Capital controls and taxation need transparency to work. Now, yes, again, so they're serial numbered for a reason, but they're not serial numbered to account for individual ownership. So there's still privacy. That's just it. They're serial numbered so that the issuer, the Fed, so the issuer has an audit of their own supply, not because the individual bearer has to have their supply audited, if that makes more sense. So within crypto, we still need something like that where the supply can be audited, but where the individual user, when that supply is audited, their particular amount isn't known, right? So with Crypto Dave, like, again, we'll use that same example of a microeconomy where we've printed $10 million worth of currency and 8 million of it is in your possession, and 100,000 of it is in the government's possession, and the remainder is in their IRS's possession, right? And they want to audit the full supply as it goes out the door, right? Sure. Would you like it if they just knew that every single stake, they could probably deduce, right? If they did go back through and they were able to count everything that their institution had and they were reading serial numbers on the way in, they could probably deduce exactly or derive okay, well, if all the remaining supply is gone, and Dave's the only other citizen in this equation, right? In this microcosm, this little microeconomy, then he must have $8 million, and it must be from serial numbers X through Y. They could do that. I doubt the Fed does that right now with the cash supply. I doubt that they are tracking to that level of granularity. I'm sure that, yes, banks do take an audit of serial numbers that are floating around within their own coffers, right, within their own vaults. And I'm sure that there is quite a bit that goes into preventing money laundering and looking at very specific geographies and knowing how much is roughly where, to a degree. But for the individual to maintain privacy, it just doesn't work that way. No, your bank may know what they gave to you, but they don't know how much other cash you have from another bank. And that bank may not know that you have an account out of state where you can pull out cash, or that you're aggregating notes from all three banks into an attaché briefcase and that you're hopping on a flight to go hand it to somebody in person across the country or in Hawaii or something. Like, that level of privacy still matters. And that's why cash is still kind of a big deal. Is it better than crypto? No, it shouldn't be, right? It shouldn't be better than crypto. But in that one way, it is easier than crypto. Just to know that there's no third party, that when you have that bearer bond in hand, there's no third party that can say well, I don't know, we're going to slow down the approval of that transaction, or Bitcoin, right? It's going to take 6 hours or 10 hours to get that transaction pushed through. Or in the case of USDC or some other stable coin, where it's we're working through Coinbase, and Coinbase won't approve that because you went over your $3,000 daily limit, because they're probably really no different from a bank. So, yeah, I don't know. The digital finances are a bit of a joke. The idea that you can't spend $3,000 worth of your own money by doing a direct wire transfer until you contact the bank and make sure it's okay. Oh, it's frustrating. To me, it's frustrating. I view that as a frustration. And everybody says, well, what about the bad guys? And it's yeah, totally. Yeah, what about the bad guys? Is that the only tool you have to catch them? Is money? So what you're saying is you don't want the average person to have more than sort of an average amount of money. That will be the indication to you that they're a bad guy. Think about it, guys. Think about it. What are your aspirations in terms of finance in your life? Think about the laws that are put in place and why they are, and how that it applies to you. If you ever transfer more than what seems to be an air quotes normal transaction, you are being watched. Anyway, so I'm ranting at this point. No other questions for the AMA guys right here. I've looked at the A values live. I was a little bit surprised. I don't think that it was particularly well worded. I've got some issues with the way that played out, but you got a lot of my unfiltered feedback based on some of the questions that came up, and you hear me more often than not. My thought process is like, is there a question of liberty versus control here, right? So yeah, liberty versus authority here. And generally speaking, I will generally side on the, I'll generally lean towards the side of liberty. Okay, so Dave is asking a follow-up question that you're saying privacy coins, aren't they a good tool for evading taxes and transferring wealth internationally? That's the point you were getting at. Oh, cool. I'm glad you said it then. So as far as, so evading taxes, that's, here's the thing. Depends on which country you're in and depends on how the tax code is written. That's a conversation for another time. But what I will say about the IRS here and the tax code of the United States is that generally speaking, that's a moving target. So you can overpay your taxes and you can give voluntary donations in your taxes that you didn't have to. And on the flip side, if you pay your taxes wisely, and if you set up corporate structures, if you set up different deductions correctly, you can decrease your tax liability considerably in this country too. So it's very easy to overpay your taxes depending on how you submit them. So again, given for me the choice between individual liberty and privacy, I don't think that they should be at odds, right? With authority and saying like, okay, well, I am choosing to be a part of this society. So I want to participate, ergo I will pay, right? Like I'll pay to participate in a society that I think benefits me in the same way that you would, you'd pay dues for a club, or you'd pay tithes for a church, or you'd pay, an entry fee to go to a club, right? Like to go to some kind of sporting event or nightlife, right? So I think most people, when they feel compelled by like, all right, these are the benefits. Yeah, they help. So, all right. And we got 3D Douglas. Hey man. So he says sounds like they're saying regular people should have less money than the criminals. It kind of feels that way depending on how you bank. I remember once my wife and we were buying a car many years ago. It was over 10 years ago. We were buying a car cash. And I went to the bank. Oh, was it? No, it was almost 10 years ago. We were buying a car cash outright. And we, it wasn't anything fancy, right? Like don't get a weird idea. No, I wasn't going out to buy a show off car, something stupid like a Lambo where I'd go try to drive my net worth. That's, and I apologize in advance to all you guys that drive Lambos. I know your lifestyle choices are as valid as anybody else's, but I think it's a dumb choice. And it's not for me, but we were getting something conservative that fit our needs, and we didn't want to have a car payment. So we went and tried to take out the full amount, and we were taking out the amount, and the clerk, this guy who's like a 23-year-old kid, is like, "So what are you taking all this money for?" "I'm sorry, I'm required to ask you." I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like this is like, and I had this sense in the back of my head, like this is like when you're in an airport, how you really shouldn't run around and like make jokes about having a bomb in your bag or whatever, or being like rambunctious, calling attention to yourself. At this moment, I probably shouldn't draw too much attention to myself, and I should probably just answer in some way that helps this person write down an answer and get out of my hair. So I said, "Oh yeah, we're going to pick up a large appliance for our home." And he was like, "Oh, okay." Wrote it down, and then we were on our way. But it's kind of like, really, what business of yours is that I'm taking out this amount of cash, this particular amount of cash, to go and get a car? It's not even a fancy car. It's really not a big deal. Like, why do you need to know? So on the one hand, Crypto Dave, I hear you saying like, yeah, people might want to cheat on their taxes. Well, are you like an IRS agent? Are you like, do you work for like the SEC or something? Why does that matter to you so much if somebody else does or doesn't pay their taxes with their crypto? I'd love to hear your answer in the comment section. If you're watching this after the fact, I'd love to hear your take on it. So in a perfect world, what do you even think people should be like? What rate should people be taxed at? And should it be different for crypto? Should it be different if they conduct their business entirely in cash? How do they account for that? And how should they be audited if they conduct their business and most of their life largely in cash or in crypto? You tell me down in the comment section. You guys have heard a lot about my opinions on all kinds of stuff, and so please don't take it personally. Obviously, you don't really care what I think. You have your own opinion. But tell me that in the comment section. I'd love to hear your opinion. What do you think about this? What do you think about the balancing of individual liberties and privacy versus authority and the need for an ordered and structured and balanced society? How do we do that with cryptocurrency while providing people the highest degree of liberty possible? At least for me, I think that's important. What do you think the balance is? At any rate, Voltron, yeah, they control the cash flow. Now show me your papers. Show me papers. All right, guys, this is the point in the video where we've gone over the channel update. You've heard a lot from me there. We went over the crypto news, which I think was largely just geared towards Zcash. And then we did the 8 values quiz live. We might do I side with another time, maybe, if you guys think that's interesting. But we will definitely be talking a lot about the legally protected, constitutionally protected rights that American citizens have. So if you're not from this country, please bear with me. I think there will be some corollaries that do apply to you if you live in Canada, for example, or if you live in the UK, or if you live in much of Western Europe. We'll have a lot in common, a lot more in common than I think maybe you know. So we'll have a really fun conversation about that. Oh, Yashnik is pushing is definitely pushing an agenda here. Let me pull something up. So thank you for reminding me in the comment section there. But I don't know that I have a ready answer for you. I think with Ion Network, he's asking about. Ion Network, I think, still exists. Yes, it still exists. All right, we're off to a good start. They still exist. And honestly, in 2019, we have to ask that question with a lot of our favorite crypto projects, right? It's like, okay, has it gone chain dead? No. Whew. Okay, we're off to a good start. T-Bone, no, don't leave because you're from Canada. We love America's hat. I mean, our neighbors to the north. Canada's great. It really is. Plus, what would we aspire towards in hockey if we did not have the fierce competition from Canada and ice skating? And poutine. Our poutine would be terrible if it wasn't for competition with Canada. American poutine would be the worst in the world if we didn't have Canada to beat. Just kidding. I've never had American poutine, and I don't recommend that anybody have it. It's like, it would be like getting gas station sushi. Probably the last thing you ever do. So, guys, I'm looking at Ion. I don't know enough about the latest developments within Ion to really know where it's at. But what I can do is I can pull it up here on CoinGecko really fast just to see. So here we go. Yep. So Crypto Day, I appreciate you chiming back in. He says, I was just playing devil's advocate. I'm not a fan of tax laws that are written to benefit the rich and so vast that you need to employ a CPA to know your liability and benefits. Yeah. So, I hear you. And I hear the frustration there as far as feeling like there's a certain, there's a bit of class warfare when it comes to tax code. What's difficult for me is that the longer I run my own businesses, the longer I work for myself as a contractor or freelancer, and then getting into the consulting space or maintaining a bit of upward mobility in the consulting space, is that I see that there are a lot of people who just understand the tax code better, and frankly, they are the ones that are employing CPAs to get those kinds of tax breaks. It's not necessarily that the taxes are written strictly to benefit them. It's that they're written to benefit them when they understand the breaks that they can really dig for. I knew a guy who his first year breaking $400K in personal earnings, he paid 10% in taxes. And when he told me that, my first inclination, a bit like how you said, yeah. So my first inclination, a bit like what Dave said, was to say, like, it seems unfair. Probably that was my first thought, kind of a knee jerk response. Like, that seems unfair that he only paid 10% in taxes. But I've been to this guy's house a lot, and I've had lunch with him on a regular basis. Know his wife, know his kids. I've picked his kids up from school before. Even I've been at his home when they're coming home from school, and we do sit and do homework and stuff together, because we've been able to spend that kind of time together. Really fortunate sort of periods of time where where cash flow was good. So, but I remember when he told me that, and I thought, okay, well, on the one hand, like, it's kind of a bummer. I feel like almost like he's taken something away from me, where I've been taxed higher, and people I know have been taxed higher. But then on the other hand, I thought, no, screw that. Give me the name of your CPA, because that's pretty amazing, because you weren't audited. And like, after the fact, the IRS didn't audit you because you did it legally. And you have nice things. And no, you're not the a-hole driving around in a Bugatti, like running over other people's kids because you're all, because you're snorting coke like there's no tomorrow. You're a good family dude who's contributing to the community. The guy gives a significant amount to charitable causes too. So it's like, on the one hand, he's only paying 10% taxes, but I know he's paying easily 20% of his income to charitable causes. So I don't know if that was part of how he qualified for such a low tax rate, but I remember the first time that I knew somebody personally, was able to talk to somebody personally who had that kind of experience. I looked at it both ways. And initially my first thought was like, it's almost like you're taking from me because I've been taxed higher. But then I just thought about it, and it was like, but you're a net credit to your community, because, at least for him individually, because of the way you live your life and because of the other stuff you do voluntarily with your money. So yeah, anyway. Yeah. So Dave is saying, ideally you want to tax all entities uniformly, not relying on their honesty. That's a tough one also, because then when you talk about using blockchain for taxation, then you're talking about not just an auditable supply, but you're talking about looking into everybody's individual accounts. You get back to that point of allowing for a trusted third party to be the authority that can do that audit. They can perform that audit and then act responsibly. So like you're saying, you'd want to tax all entities uniformly and not rely on their honesty. My fundamental concern, and I think the fundamental concern that every individual alive today should have, is that governments have a poor history of not exercising a little bit of tyrannical behavior when they get too much power. Every government across the world does it when they're granted too much power or authority in a specific area. And it plays out over and over again. It's just a sad truth that when they think they have enough authority to just tell people how to live in every possible way, then that creep is introduced, that scope creep is introduced. And it's like, well, now we want to, now every citizen has to behave a certain way. They have to do a certain kind of school. Now at age 12, for example, they show a propensity for maybe the trade schools instead of the professions. So, little Johnny, your dad was an attorney. He was a lawyer, or your mom was a doctor, but really we think you should be a plumber. Where does it end? Right? So I don't know that I fully agree with that, that everybody should be taxed uniformly, and that it should be like one straight tax rate for everybody, and that it should always be like an onerous amount, like 40 or 60 or 70%. Because plenty of Nordic socialist countries have these really high rates, and they claim to have a really great index of quality of life, but they're also culturally homogenous. Once they take on, jumping back to the question of immigration, once they take on a large surge of a third culture, they start to kind of fall apart. They start to not really know how to accommodate those cultures and integrate those cultures. A country like the United States has, frankly, it's an experiment that no other country has ever tried. They've never approached it. There's no other country that has brought on 1 million legal immigrants every year and then somehow had a tax program that still helps with social programs and entitlement programs and programs that essentially create a safety net, both for those legal immigrants and for the citizens. So, Dave is saying, if taxation is automatically taken out, what need is there for an audit? Well, it really depends on how you propose to have it taken out, because then you're talking about putting in place smart contracts. If you're not talking about auditing the network and having sort of like super user or super admin access, which again, by its own nature means that we're back to square one. Why you're in crypto? The digital dollar can do that. Right, the digital dollar can do that now, can be tracked now. Like your accounts, your balances are known by the Fed and by the IRS now. So to your point, why do your taxes? Why not just wait for the IRS to audit you? It's automatic. So with crypto, there's something else entirely. We have an international currency that does not of a necessity lead to a new world order. Does that make sense? Because there is no one super admin government. While I talk a good game about loving the United States, and I do, I love being a citizen of the United States, I think, again, it's on a short list of countries throughout the world that are quite good. I wouldn't want Angela Merkel being in charge of an organization that is responsible for my taxes. I would not want the prime minister of any foreign nation being the person who gives top-down orders to their national IRS that then has a say in my taxation. So when you talk about crypto, now you're talking about having overlapping concerns there. So no, you very much still do have to rely on the honesty of the individual players and the actors who are participating in those currencies. Yeah. So yeah, that's my thought there. Again, this is a Dave, I really appreciate the questions you brought up. I think they're quite brilliant. They've given us a much deeper dive, much more to talk about for some counterpoint. And I love that you brought up a couple different ideas there that in my view, I think I've got a slightly different take. So really appreciate you bringing those up. Those are very refreshing to see. Guys, I should probably call it a oh my gosh. Here we are. Back in the era of 90 minute plus live streams with Seth Estrada. So guys, thanks so much for watching to this point in the video. Really appreciate you hitting the like button, being subscribed, clicking the bell icon, sharing this video with friends, and inviting others to be subscribed. Thank you for checking out also the new mindyour.biz website. We're adding more resources. Please let me know what you want to see on the website, what kinds of resources you want to see, or what kind of merch maybe you want to see, or what kind of gear. Who knows? Maybe down the line I'll source some more gear. I do have some stuff that I can source from China by way of mining gear. That's helpful. So you let me know what direction you'd like me to grow that website. Thank you for your support. It really does mean a lot to me. And guys, really appreciate the great, thoughtful conversation. Another big shout out to Big Crypto Dave, especially for bringing up some really great talking points there. So guys, appreciate you watching to this point. You're the reason I make this media. I love your face, and I will see you in the next one.